All right, guys. Sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties over here. I thought my internet was going to go out, so I had to change that real quick. But I am back. We are back previewing the 49ers versus Seahawks game. Give me 1 second. Let me take a nice drink. Anyway, we were talking about what the 49ers can do tomorrow. And look, I really think that they're able to take advantage of the Seahawks defense. We were talking about Brandon Ayuk having to step in for Deebo Samuel. I think he can do that. I think that he's able to get the job done. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo should be able to have a solid game. I think that Coach Saleh should be able to coach a good game. Obviously, the big X factor in all of this is Russell Wilson. Can the 49ers do enough to overcome Russell Wilson being on the other side of the ball? Because he's going to get his. Russell Wilson is the type of player that you just kind of have to limit his success. He's a fantastic quarterback, arguably one of the best in the league behind Patrick Mahomes. Appreciate you, Hispanic Danger. Yes, go Niners. Hit the like button, guys. Sorry I had to leave for a minute, but I'm back. So the 49ers, I think, have a couple of key matchups. And I think that obviously one of them is Jason Verrett against DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is a beast, 6'4", 230 pounds. And you know, we saw him bully Stephon Gilmore a couple of weeks ago of the Patriots, who was the reigning defensive player of the year. So Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley are both going to have their hands full because Tyler Lockett is no scrub either. Tyler Lockett is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, and the 49ers are going to have a hard time handling both of them. But, you know, great offense beats great defense every time. Let's just hope the 49ers defense is good enough to get the job done. Let's see, question here. How far can we go this season with half the team on IR? You know, this question would normally be, the answer would be not far at all. But this year's different. This year's different because you have the short-term IR. You have 3 games, and then you can come back. Now, I think Jeff Wilson was something like the 19th player or something like that, 20th player. Correct me if I'm wrong. 20th player placed on IR for the 49ers this year. That's astonishing. That's just unbelievably bad. I mean, they're 2 players away from having an entire starting offense and starting defense on injured reserve. And the players, too, it's not like these are, you know, lower level, third string, second string players. These are starters, key players, big names that unfortunately are on IR. So, Hispanic Danger, normally I would say not far at all, but we've seen them overcome these injuries already. So I would argue pretty far. I would argue that this team, the way that they played the last couple of weeks, can get to the playoffs. Now, once you get into the playoffs, that's another story, but I would argue they can get to the playoffs and go from there. But the best thing about this short-term IR, like I said, is that a lot of these guys are coming back. At some point, Richard Sherman's coming back. Deebo Samuel's coming back. Raheem Mostert's coming back. So that's promising. Dee Ford, who knows? I saw a report earlier this week. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how credible the source was, but that Dee Ford likely played his last snap, and that people are being the team's really concerned about his durability long term. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt, but if he's able to come back and have any sort of meaningful snaps for the 49ers, they got to take that, and then they got to cut ties because that trade has been really, really bad for them, unfortunately. Let's see. Will Bourne, Taylor, or Dwelly step up against the Seahawks? It's tough. It's tough, man. Kendrick Bourne has been disappointing. I'm going to come out and say it. He's been disappointing this year. And the couple of opportunities that he's had, he hasn't really made the most of them. We saw him last week against the Patriots. I think just run the wrong route on third down. He just wasn't on the same page. I want to say Kendrick Bourne, but my heart probably goes with Ross Dwelly. We've seen Dwelly step up when needed. I really like Ross Dwelly. I think he's underrated. I think the 49ers can do a lot of damage with him and George Kittle as our 2 tight ends, at least hold down the fort until Jordan Reed comes back from injury. And that's, you know, no small feat. It's not that nobody is really playing as well as expected. The Cards lost to the Lions. The Rams struggled against the Giants. That's true. That's a great point. Nobody's really playing well all across the league. And defenses specifically, I think when you have no off season, a shortened off season, no preseason, defenses take a lot longer to get acclimated and get used to it rather than offenses. Offenses, especially if you have an athletic quarterback like Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, they're able to come in day one and pretty much play that style of football with no practice, with no preseason. They're able to just do that like that. So that's a great point. We got Hyder and Gibbons. Yes, thank you so much. Kerry Hyder has been one of my favorite players this year. His story is just fantastic, and he's been playing extremely well. Now, is he Nick Bosa? No, but who is? Nobody's Nick Bosa. The 49ers are just going to have to live with the fact that he's gone, and Kerry Hyder is a fantastic, consolation prize. He's great. He's been great. Kevin Givens as well. These are both great players that the 49ers are lucky to have. They're really lucky to have. Going back into these matchups, I think we should keep an eye on. Coaching, Pete Carroll against Kyle Shanahan. And on the flip side, Pete Carroll also against Robert Saleh. And I didn't write down the Seahawks offensive coordinator's name, but he's going to need to call a great game because Robert Saleh, and I know we did a video earlier in the year about how Robert Saleh might be on the hot seat, or Robert Saleh should be on the hot seat if the play continued. I think that was after that Dolphins game, so emotions were kind of high. But since then, I'd argue Robert Saleh has been coaching fantastically. The guy has been a great job, has done a great job coaching, especially with what he's been given. With all of these injuries and the 49ers defense, minus one game, minus the Dolphins game, which is such a weird outlier that you can't take that as the norm. Take that game away, and this defense has been motivated. They've been playing well. They've been setting expectations for each other. They're holding each other accountable. And you got Fred Warner playing as good as ever. So, yeah, I think that the coaching matchups are going to be huge. Who comes out on top? And it likely comes down to coaching. If Kyle Shanahan can come up with a game plan that exposes the Seahawks defense, which shouldn't be hard, but what might be the hard part about that is getting Jimmy in position to make the throws, to make the correct read, whatever the case is. We saw him do it last week against the Patriots. We need another performance like that because Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen that if Jimmy Garoppolo is trying to do it himself, it doesn't turn out well. He likely turns the ball over, makes a bad throw, whatever the case is. So Kyle Shanahan needs to put Jimmy in position to have success. And unfortunately, I think that's the biggest difference between Jimmy and what a franchise quarterback should be. A franchise quarterback, a guy like Russell Wilson, for example. You take Russell Wilson, you can do anything. You can call anything with him and trust him to make the right read. Trust him to where if the play breaks down, if the throw's not there, he can improv. He can make it happen on his own. Jimmy Garoppolo, we haven't seen that he can do that. So at this point in his career, I just feel like he's not able to do that. I think that he's had time and time again to show us that he is that guy and he can do it. So Kyle Shanahan, man, you really need to put Jimmy in some positions to have some success tomorrow. Let's see, Hyder and Hasty Beast. Yep. Two great signings for the 49ers, and they're lucky to have them. They're really lucky to have them. Real quick, guys, while I have you, this is my design from our 49ers Hive Teespring store. Debo's chain snatching services. It's like an old school retro look. We got tons of designs on there, a couple of new ones. We have a Yak Bros design we just got. If you guys go to our Teespring store right now, you can get 20% off with code HIVE20 as in HIVE 20 off your entire purchase. So go and check that out. If you guys like anything, be sure to tweet it at me. I love seeing people get our merch. It makes me really happy. Spiding Danger. Who will be the MVP of this game? Jimmy G, Kittle, Ayuk, Reed, Warner, Greenlaw, or Verrett? It's tough. It's interesting. Hasty wasn't mentioned, but I think that Hasty might be the MVP. I think that if Hasty can run for anywhere from 15 to 20 times, the 49ers should have a solid game and they should win this game. I think that if Tevin Coleman has more rushes than Michael Hasty, I don't like the chances as much. But I think just by default, it's got to be Jimmy. If the 49ers need to win, or if the 49ers are going to win, they need Jimmy to have a nice game. They can't really have too many boneheaded mistakes. They can't have too many bad throws that are intercepted or, any bad reads, whatever the case is. They can't have too much of good Jimmy because against a great quarterback and a solid coach in Pete Carroll, that's hard to overcome. That's really hard to overcome. So I think that Jimmy Garoppolo, Michael Hasty, and on the flip side, the two equally as important pieces of the defense, Fred Warner and Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett needs to have a good game against these tough receivers. This is the best, as good of a duo as there is in the NFL, arguably the best in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett, hopefully K'Waun Williams, hopefully them three can have a solid game tomorrow and shut down that passing attack of the Seattle Seahawks. Let's see. KB had to have a rookie. Debo put him in the right place in the last snaps of the Saints game. Man, it was fake blocks and catches, but the bad doesn't get outweighed by all the little good. That's a great point. Yeah, that's what's so frustrating is that, what she's saying is KB had to have a rookie come in and tell him, line up here, do this, and you shouldn't have to have that happen with, I believe he's the longest tenured 49er on that wide receiver core. Kendrick Bourne is the veteran, which is crazy to think, but it's a young unit. It's a young unit. I think we got some trick-or-treaters coming on here. We got a bowl of candy out. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I think that the 49ers and Kendrick Bourne, unfortunately, can't get the job done. So they're going to need to see who can. Let's see. Taylor, Verrett, Moore, all great DBs. I was so happy to see them shine, but they scream your throat sore fun to watch. That's true. That's a good point. That they're great DBs, and Jamar Taylor too. He had 2 interceptions. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I was muted. Sorry about that, guys. These kids were knocking like crazy. They don't appreciate a bowl left out anymore, I guess. It is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe. Don't eat too much candy. Let's see. Getting some more questions here. Can Hasty be our Marshawn Lynch? That's a great comparison. I really like that comparison, Spanic Danger, because I think that he can be. I really do think that he can be. I think that the 49ers need to use him as that bruiser, fast-styled running back because he's shown to have that ability. Going back to Jimmy here, 2 big 3rd and 16s against the Rams. He can do, just not as often as we all like. Yeah, that's true. That's unfortunate because we've seen him do it, but it's not consistent. And I think that's the biggest thing is that it's inconsistent. And it's unfortunate because the 49ers need that consistency from him. And we'll see if he can get it done. Going into more of these comments here, what do you think of former 49ers and Pete calling this a revenge game for Hyde and Reed? I mean, it is what it is. Whatever you need to have this bulletin board material, I guess. They need to talk it up. They need to tell these guys that, hey, you need to play as good as you can. And I saw Carlos Hyde earlier in the season say some snotty comment as like, I see now why we always lost to these guys, and I was on the 49ers. They have that winning culture that the 49ers just didn't have. And it's like, no, maybe it's just that you didn't play great. Maybe it's just that, you got outplayed. And now that you're on that side, you're talking about how great it is over there. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Respect to them, but I just don't think that they're going to come out on top. Could this be Kinlaw's breakout game? Yes and no. Yes and no. The Seahawks have a really bad offensive line, and he can start to get it together. I think I have some stats here about the Seahawks. One of their offensive linemen, Brandon Shell, tanked amongst our. Let's see, Brandon Shell, defensive tackles. Oh, excuse me, no, this is defensive line. I got my notes here like I'm a journalist or something, like a newsman. The line, by the way, is only 3 points, which I don't know how many of you guys are betting out there, but 3 points that's what the home team's favored. So it's essentially a scratch, which I think is interesting because as good as Seattle has played all year, and on the flip side, the bad games that we've seen from the 49ers, it's only a 3-point favorite at home. So, and I would take that with a grain of salt too, because how much of that Seattle tough 12th man CenturyLink Stadium is the 12th man, and they're not there. They're not there on Sunday. So it might not even be that much of a daunting environment to go into and try and win. So it is what it is. And arguably the 49ers have played better on the road than they have at Levi's in Santa Clara. So I really like the 49ers' chances tomorrow. They just got to do some things right and limit the mistakes. KB is loved. I don't get it. Look, I love KB as a person, and I love him. He puts in the work. We saw it all off season. He was posting videos, doing the workouts, running his routes, whatever the case may be, really crafting his career, his profession, but it hasn't translated. And that's unfortunate because you would like to see that hard work translate over into the NFL and be able to get, then have some success. But he's arguably having a worse year than he did last season. Last season, he was a solid receiver, a great red zone threat. And this year, I mean, you can make a case that Brandon Ayuk is getting that love and those opportunities that KB used to have. Whatever the case is, it just wasn't, it's not happening for KB this year. Thank you, Melissa. Happy Halloween, everybody. Like I said, don't eat too much candy. After this, me and my fiance, we're going to go grab some dinner, have a nice scary movie marathon, which none of you guys know, but real quick, hit my camera. Side note from the game preview, a couple of years back, and I love scary movies. Sorry, this is total tangent. I made my fiance a bet that if we went and saw Sinister 2, Sinister was my favorite scary movie at the time, and however long ago that was, I think we had only been dating a few months at that point. And I told her, look, if we see Sinister 2 in theaters, we'll never have to see a scary movie again. I didn't think that she would actually take me up on that offer or hold me to that bet. We went and saw Sinister 2, and unfortunately, we haven't seen a scary movie since. So that's unfortunate, but I got her tonight to agree to have a nice scary movie marathon. So we're going to be doing that after this. Just wanted to give you guys my Halloween plans. Happy Halloween, everybody. Sinister 2 is super disturbing. It was really bad. Yeah, it was really, talk about a rough game to make her go, or excuse me, a rough movie to make her go watch for somebody who hates scary movies. But I loved the first one. I thought it was good. Let's see. If we beat the Seahawks, do you think Lynch trades for any other players or any position? This is a great question because it depending on how the season went, they were either going to be buyers or sellers. And if they had lost the last couple of games, I think we would have seen a lot more of these 49ers that are going into contract years get moved. We probably would have saw Tart get moved, maybe even Dante. Who knows what they could get for Dante at this point. But we would have seen probably some of these guys get moved. And I think the fact that they've won the last 2 games probably halted those trade proposals, or at least plans that they might have been thinking. We might even see them as buyers. I mean, we saw them trade for Jordan Willis, who wasn't a great player and by any means, but he still was able to, they were still able to acquire somebody. So I think that alone shows that they're not completely out on this season. They're still thinking we might have something here, and they might be able to get a postseason run. Let's get as many guys added as possible. Russ wins a lot of close games. Last week he couldn't put it off after a miss as an extra kick. Oh, missed AZ kick. It's hard. It's not hard to see why only 3. Yep, that's a great point, Melissa. They win a lot of close games, and it's so frustrating because me and my fiance watch these games, right? And I always tell her they shouldn't win this game, but they probably will. They have no business winning this game. They play poorly for 3 quarters, and then they end up winning at the last second. And I mean, just look at that Miami game. Look at their game against the Dolphins. If the Dolphins were able to convert some of those field goals into touchdowns, they likely win that game. However, they weren't. Seattle was able to make the extra plays, and they won. So Seattle has got to be the luckiest team in the NFL. The luckiest team, because they always get the job done, and that's unfortunate for us. But, I mean, hats off to you guys. They get it done in crunch time, and whatever it is, you got to respect it. How do you think this team responds if we lose this game? Give me 1 second. Let me think about that. I think that they respond well. I think that for the first time in a long time, well, I don't want to say a long time, in a year, they lost back-to-back games this season, and they responded well to that. It looks like they regrouped, they got everybody together, and they said, who are we going to be? Are we going to be a team that, allergies are really bad this year. Are they going to be a team that has a 1-year Super Bowl run and then that's it? Or are we going to be a team that comes back as the reigning NFC champs and fights for our season and fights for each other and fights to get back to the big game? And I think we saw these last 2 performances reflect that. So if the 49ers happen to lose against Seattle tomorrow, I think that they respond well. I do. And the best thing is that they have a quick turnaround against the Packers on Thursday night. So if they happen to lose, you hear it in the NFL all the time, quick memory for a win, quick memory for a loss. You celebrate it for a day and then you move on. So I think if they lose, they respond well and they get the job done against Green Bay, who looks a lot more beatable after the last couple of games. They make Aaron play last year, no Bosa or Ford. I still see him get owned. Let's see. Can we still beat Rodgers and Brady without last year's dominant pass rush? I'm going to say yes. These are 2 guys that aren't mobile quarterbacks. They're not guys who are going to run around like Kyler or Russ. You have to force them to beat them force them to beat you with their arm. And don't get me wrong, that could be dangerous. These are 2 of the most talented quarterbacks ever to play in the NFL. So the 49ers, I would say yes, Spinic Danger can still beat Brady and Rodgers without the pass rush, because I think that their secondary is actually their strength right now. Could Juice be used as a weapon in the pass game? Great hands for a fullback. Collie, great question. And not only can he be used in that way, he should be used in that way. Look back to week 17 of Seattle last season. They used Juice on that fullback wheel route, and I think it was one of the first drives to start the second half. Seattle had just scored. You could almost feel momentum starting to change, and then Jimmy hits Juice on that nice 20, 30-yard pass to down the field on that wheel route, and the 49ers got momentum back. Juice is a fantastic weapon, and I've said it before. I've written it in my articles. I've said it on this channel. Juice leads the way to success. If you follow Kyle Juszczyk, you're going to have success, whether that's in the running game, in the blocking game, in the receiving game. I think he needs to be a lot more involved. And when he is more involved, the 49ers win. That's just plain and simple. He gets involved, they win. So Kyle, if you're listening by some miracle, get Kyle Juszczyk involved, because that is key for the offense. Let's see. I bet Juice is using some of those Debo plays to get target off running backs, Ayuk and Kittle so much. Melissa, great point. I think Kyle Shanahan's whole mentality is let's do what they're not thinking we're going to do, but let's make it look like we're going to do what they think we're going to do, if that makes sense. It might have sounded confusing. He lines up in formations where teams that have watched film on the 49ers think their mind goes, oh, I know this. I saw this in my film. They're lining up here. It's going to be a handoff to the right, a stretch play, an end around, whatever the case may be. And Kyle Shanahan starts the play off that way, and then it's something else, and then they completely are like, whoa, what's this? And then it's a 20, 30-yard pass or a 10, 15-yard run, whatever the case may be. So, yes, juice needs to be used in the offense, whether it's a misdirection or a toy or, whatever the case may be, a red herring. He needs to be involved because the 49ers simply have success when he is involved, and that's just really as simple as it is. Would you prefer an in-season trade or let all these DB walks in free agency and maybe getting low comp picks because we're not the Pats with all 3 comp picks? Look, I don't think they're going to let all of them walk. And it depends on who would they trade. I wouldn't trade all of them, obviously. I know that's not what you're asking. But I wouldn't mind at this point, and you might call me crazy, I wouldn't mind trading Sherman. I think that Jason Verrett has come on, and his emergence has proved that the 49ers aren't as dependent on Sherman as they once thought. And look, real quick, think about what the 49ers season would have looked like last year if they had this Jason Verrett. If they had this Jason Verrett paired with that Richard Sherman last year and Emmanuel Mosley off the bench and Ahkello Witherspoon from the first 3 games of last season when he was playing as well as he ever played, that arguably would have been the best secondary in the NFL. I think that they let a lot of these guys walk. The key that I do not want them to lose, the key player in that secondary, is K'Wan Williams. I think he is the best slot corner in the NFL. I think he doesn't get enough love with the 49ers, even by some fans. I think that they need to make sure they keep him. And me and Matt did a video on this not too long ago, actually, about Jason Verrett as to whether or not they should keep him. And Matt said, look, if he plays well enough to get 7-8 per from some other team and gets 30 million plus, you got to let him walk. You cannot pay him that type of money. As well as he's played this year, he's shown that he can't be relied upon to stay healthy. So I feel like Jason Verrett at this point is like found money to where you just got to say thank you so much, whoever's looking up top, whoever's looking down on us, for this found money, and move on. You cannot afford to sign him to a big contract that you're on the line for tons of money, especially when you need to sign guys like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa soon, Trent Williams. There are a lot of key players that you're going to need to pay. So they're going to have to let some of the secondary walk. Let's see, going in here. Yeah, I see Matt here in the chat. I think we see wheel routes with Juice. It's the same route he ran against. Yeah, yep, exactly, Colin, exactly. All of the weapons will eat tomorrow. Bank it. David Yang, great point. The Seattle defense, like I said earlier, historically bad up until now. And I think the 49ers offense will have a nice game. And Ayuk, Kittle, Hasty, whoever it is, Juice, I think they're all going to have a good game. I really do. I've got a good feeling about this one, guys. The 49ers finally use a high draft pick on a quarterback or a corner next year. I mean, I feel like this year, and Matt and I did a video on this. We said for the first time, we were a little hesitant to support Jimmy Garoppolo. We were a little hesitant to say, whoa, well, look at this, look at the context. Oh, well, he's not asked to do that. Oh, well, the running game was working so well. So, Spinic Danger, I would love to see them definitely use a high pick on a corner. But the quarterback, I think it depends on how he finishes the year. If he finishes the year inconsistent still, I think they have to. I don't think they have a choice. And I'm not saying their first overall pick, but I would like to see them maybe second round, maybe, third. I don't have their draft picks in front of me. I know that they're kind of spaced out, but I think that they need to draft a quarterback this year. And this BS excuse from Kyle Shanahan that, well, we had 3 great quarterbacks, so that's why we didn't even look at, Patrick Mahomes or whoever these quarterbacks were. Or, it's like, come on, man. You know damn well that Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, and, granted, that was when Jimmy Garoppolo was playing well, but they're not three quarterbacks, not three starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And you know the saying, if you think you have two quarterbacks that can start, you likely don't have one. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Matt, depends on how they lose. I'm not sure if this is in reference to. How much will no crowd noise factor into the outcome of the game versus the Seahawks? A lot. I think it will a lot. I think that they feed off of that crowd, that energy that they provide. And I think the fact that it's not going to be there is huge. It's half of what it is going into Seattle and winning is going up against that crowd. Conspiracy theorist Zach says maybe some of that noise is piped in, but nah, probably not. I'm just joking. Let's see. Yep. Happy Halloween, Matt. Wife's getting ready for a party. Thought I'd peek in. Have a great night, Matt. You guys deserve it. Happy anniversary to you and yours. Let's see. The juice is loose. I love that. I want to see Hasty get more carries. 100%. They need to have Hasty finish the day with more carries than Tevin Coleman. If it's the other way around, it's not going to be great. K1 versus Lockett is critical. Yep. And especially K1 coming back from injury. So hopefully that's not too big of a task for him to handle. They're training up Hasty slowly to avoid a Pettis, but yeah, hate Tevin Coleman to become an every down back like McKinnon in the Eagles game. Yeah, that was really concerning to see because it's like, it's obviously not working. Do something else. Pull the plug somehow, Kyle. Come on, man. But it is what it is. It's in the past. Tomorrow, hopefully that doesn't happen. Kwa stays next season. He has to, Collie. He's got to stay because the 49ers need him. Tico Raw, more like Tico Nah. That's awesome. Let's see. I meant like Ward, Chart, Sherman, Witherspoon guys making tons of money. Maybe we were seeing younger, fresher, not as injury-prone dudes to take over the secondary. Yeah, 100%. I hear you, Melissa. I think that out of those, the only one that I think needs to stay for the 49ers to continue that success in their secondary is Tart. I think all of the other ones they might be able to do without, but I think Tart is the most important piece out of all of the guys you named there. So I really like him out of all of them to need to stay. Quan Alexander, bye. Ford, bye. Sherm, bye. Keep Shark. Yep. Collie, you got it right again. These guys, the 49ers can simply not afford to keep, especially the amount of production they're getting off of them. It's just not worth it. Like I said, when you have to sign guys like Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, these contracts are coming up. They need to be looking down the line. And when you have so much money tied up in guys like that played, I mean, how much has Dee Ford played this year? 3/4 of a game, we're halfway through the year. It's just not acceptable. And I've said it before, but when the 49ers traded for him, I was ecstatic. And then I saw Chiefs fans on Twitter saying, hey, man, good luck. The guy could barely do anything for us. Hopefully he does something for you. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are just salty. But no, they were true. We should have listened. This game will be key for Jimmy. If he plays bad against Seattle, they will definitely take a look at quarterback. Yeah, especially with how bad the Seattle Seahawks defense is. If he can't have success against them, come on, Jimmy. Come on, man. It's like, especially with Kyle scheming things up and you having most of your offense healthy, minus a few key parts, I know, but they're healthy enough to where he should have a good game. Let's see. I don't think McGlinchey is the option. I don't think McGlinchey option should be picked up. What's all your thoughts? I agree with you. I think McGlinchey has been a big disappointment and he's regressed. And from where he regressed from wasn't even like he was playing at an all-pro level or anything like that. He was still playing at a questionable level, and he's gotten worse from that. So McGlinchey might not get picked up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I think the 49ers likely go with another option. Maybe they draft a lineman. I know Matt, time after time, keeps saying Creed Humphrey. He really likes him. And I think they need to. I don't think that they can afford. He's been a liability, unfortunately, and he had a solid game last week, but for the most part, Mike McGlinchey has been a liability out there. And again, like Matt says, he needs to eat a damn sandwich. The guy is tight end thin. He's ridiculously skinny. Eat a sandwich, Mike. Put extra cheese on it, whatever the case is. Let's see. How much will – oh, wait, no, I already read this one. Kyle was waiting for Kirk, and we had Hoyer for what an 0-9 start. Kyle isn't the best. Thank you. Yes, he's not the best at judging quarterbacks. He didn't even look at Patrick Mahomes. He saw what Deshaun Watson was and said, no, thank you. these types of statements from Kyle Shanahan infuriate me. As a head coach in position to draft a plethora of talented quarterbacks multiple times, you didn't do it. And why? Oh, well, we were all on the Kirk Cousins train. Kyle, really? Kirk Cousins? Kirk, you like that, Cousins? Come on, man. I don't want to hear that. That was infuriating to hear because he's not great at. Oh gosh, I keep hitting my camera with my foot. Kyle is not great at scouting quarterbacks, and look, maybe he's just not good at that. Maybe he's a great play caller. He's a great offensive mind, Maybe when it comes to quarterbacks, that's not his thing. I mean, I don't know what it is, but time and time again, Melissa, you are spot on. He's not great at scouting quarterbacks. Matt, have a great dinner. Thanks for tuning in the comments, man. I appreciate you. Have a good night. Stay safe. Happy Halloween. Let's see. If Jimmy G has the best game against the Seahawks, will he finally get some respect? Yes. Emphatically, yes. I think that 49ers fans, even the most casual fan who's not too involved with following their year, they tune into this game. And not only 49ers fans, but football fans in general. They tune into this game because they know it's always a bloodbath. It's always a fantastic matchup between these two teams. I think 2 out of the last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, went into overtime. So they go into overtime a lot. And it's just exciting games. And honestly, I was surprised that this wasn't moved into Sunday Night Football. It wasn't flexed. I forget which game is Sunday Night Football right now, but it's some horrid game that shouldn't be there. It's like some NFC East matchup, which, by the way, stop giving the NFC East primetime games. Stop punishing us with that. Seahawks versus the 49ers last season at that point was like one of the highest rated games as far as television of all time. That was an amazing game, and it should have been flexed. Do I think Jalen Hurd can be the Jason Verrett of next year? Yes and no. Yes and no, because if you remember Jason Verrett, he had his injury. The 49ers signed him 2 years ago, and then he came back last year, and it was still disappointing. And then this year he's come back, and it's been promising. It's been really good, actually. Jalen Hurd, he's been injured twice now, 2 years in a row, torn ACLs. That makes you question a receiver's ability to come back fully healthy and still be the same type of playmaker. So it depends on the type of rehab he receives. And it's unfortunate because the guy had tremendous potential. We saw it early on in that preseason game. In practices, we were hearing he's lighting it up. He's a big target. So I'd hope so. I'd really hope so, Spiny Danger. I really do, because the guy's got tremendous potential, like I said, and the 49ers could really go for another receiver coming in and having big playability. Jimmy must have a Saints-type game like last season to impress. I think that's a good point, Go-Kart. I think that 49ers fans just want to see Jimmy do it. They want to see him, in colloquial terms, they want to see him get the job done. They want to see him step up and make the tough throws and stand in the face of pressure and not get happy feet in the pocket when nobody's around you and not throw it into triple coverage, And in that Saints game, just like you mentioned, he did exactly that. He did exactly that. He had a fantastic day. And even in that Week 17 matchup against the Seahawks, he did another great game just like that. So I think that you're totally right. He needs to have a good game just like that in order to get some respect. We're going to be wrapping things up here, guys, shortly. I got to go grab some dinner and start my scary movie marathon tonight. So send in your questions if you have any for the game. Drop your comment predictions for the final score tomorrow. If you guys get any right, we'll send you some free merch. So you got nothing to lose. Jimmy wins a ring. Kyle doesn't act like he gets credit for wins, and he isn't Kyle's guy. It was more like Lynch and Bill. I think that's a great point. I really do, because I think that Jimmy was never really tied to Kyle, and I think Kyle was more like, Jimmy got pushed onto me. I'm making the best of it, but I didn't handpick the guy. It was kind of like, okay, I guess I got this. I'll see what I can do. And we've seen it time and time again. He doesn't necessarily throw Jimmy under the bus, but he kind of, there are some comments that he makes where you're kind of like, I wonder what that relationship's like, So Yeah, Melissa, I think you're right. I don't think that Jimmy was Kyle's guy, and I think it shows. I really do. Let's see if it's the Cowboys. Jerry refused to be pulled. Pitt versus Ravens, 49ers versus Hawks game. That's what you're saying. Okay. Jerry refused to be pulled. Yeah, he's probably got the strings. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Thank you, Melissa. Definitely. I think that's going to do it, guys. I don't think we have too many questions. If you guys are watching, drop a comment on YouTube. That way the comment is easy to go check and see. If you drop a comment with the final score prediction, you get it right, we'll send you some free merch. So do that, and have a happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe. Don't eat too much candy, and hopefully you're not too spooked. And also, we'll be on tomorrow right after the game. So me and Matt, maybe Anthony, we'll see who the 49ers Hive team wants to come along. Come and check us out. We'll be recapping the game. Hopefully it'll be a great mood because the 49ers won big. But come check us out then. But